In my previous video on Buliowski's suite in B-flat minor, I mentioned that the section of the manuscript that contained this suite also contained suites by other fairly obscure composers. This is the reverse part of the manuscript with the music copied back to front. I also mentioned that some pages from this reverse part had been torn off at some point in time in the past, and some of the suites are therefore fragmentary. This is indeed the case for the suite I am performing in this video, and because of what is missing, we can also not be entirely sure who wrote it, although we can make a very well-educated guess. Let me explain. Just like the front part of the manuscript that contains Froberger suites, the manuscript's reverse part also starts with a group of suites numbered 1 through 4, or at least that's what we logically expect to be the case, as each of the first 2 suites is missing its first page. The third and fourth suites, which are preserved in their entirety, have the numbers 3 and 4 as part of their heading. In addition, they are both by the same composer, whose name is given as Monsieur Strobel. As all 4 suites are stylistically similar, it is highly likely they were all written by the same composer. While we know of 3 different musicians by the name of Strobel, given the date of the manuscript, the composer of these suites is the lutenist and composer Valentin Strobel, who was born in Halle in 1611 and died in Strasbourg sometime after 1669, and sometimes referred to as Valentin Strobel II to distinguish him from his father, who had the exact same name. The suite I'm performing in this video is the first of the 4 in the key of C minor and is probably the one in the most fragmented state. Originally, it probably consisted of 4 movements in the order Allemand, Gigue, Courante, and Sarabande. I've already mentioned that the first page is missing, so that only the second section of the Allemande survives. The Gigue is complete, and the Courante is missing its second page, so that what remains is the first section and 1 full measure of the second section. The following 2 pages in the manuscript are missing. Now, please keep in mind that my observations are based on looking at the manuscript online rather than close examination of the manuscript itself, as the 2 missing pages also affect the beginning of the following suite, which is also missing the first section of its Allemande. I'm guessing that one of the missing pages must have contained the remaining part of the Courante and the Sarabande. And I imagine there must have been a Sarabande, as the other 3 suites also contain one. There are several reasons I decided to perform this suite. First and foremost, I think it's wonderful music. Secondly, as far as I know, no one else has recorded it. Third, I think it's pretty obvious by now I tend to like pieces in minor keys. And finally, when comparing it to the other 3 suites, it seems like it may be the only one specifically conceived for harpsichord. When I look at the figurations and the limited range of the musical lines of the other 3 suites, I suspect they may have been originally written for lute, and what we have are keyboard transcriptions of them. It's also interesting to observe that Strobel uses the exact same motive in the beginning of the second section for all 3 of the surviving movements. Let me demonstrate a little bit what I mean by this. As I mentioned before, for the Allemande, we only have the second section, so I am playing the beginning of the second section, but this is actually what you will hear at the very beginning of the recording, because this is what we have. We're missing the first section. So the second section of the Allemande starts like this. And now if I go to the beginning of the second section in the Courante, the third movement, notice is almost the same. And that's where the manuscript breaks off. We don't have the next page, but you can almost imagine the next note would probably be E flat, right? Because that's what happens in the Allemande. So if one were to complete it, you could get some clues from the Allemande to see how the Courante could at least start its second section, how it could go, at least in the beginning. Now, the Gigue, the second movement, is slightly different. It's exactly the same motive, but now we have a more syncopated idea, because here this motive is going to be used in an imitative fashion. So we are going to have imitation between at least two voices. So I will play it without the little inserted trill that it has. It's something like this. So pretty much the same thing, and with a trill. So you have this very, very interesting motivic similarity in the second section, the opening of the second section of all three movements. It would be wonderful to know what other kinds of connections Strobel had devised for this suite, if we had more of it. And one can only imagine what he would have done for the Sarabande, which again, I can't say for sure that there is one, but I suspect there must have been one. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the performance.